G'day folks, Andy here from Aussie Homesteads. We're doing part 2 today on how to wire your light using a relay and a pre-bought loom from eBay. A loom is basically just all of the wires, so you don't have to manually go through and pull all the wires through to do all your light. So last time we showed making the brackets on the light bar right here. We had to raise these brackets up because the bumper bar on the car was quite small. So we got this part. This was just the light that we purchased first. Then this whole loom comes with all of these parts here and all of this wiring and right all the way to an on-off switch. And that would normally be mounted inside the cab. What we're doing today is part 2, and this is a manual on, manual off light. So I can turn this light on inside the cab onto high beam manually. Now that's not through the high beams in your car. It'll be part 3. This is how to do a manual setup. This is the easiest way to wire these things. So let's go through the parts. You get the loom. This is the connection here that goes to the light, and it's a big chunky one, and it's got the tabs on the end so you can plug it in. You got your positive and your negative. This part here is called a relay. I'll zoom in a little bit on that, and it is a 12 volt 40 amp relay. And in part 3 we're going to go through and take the relay apart and show you how a relay works and why you need a relay. The reason you need a relay is because you're switching high current from the battery. I'm actually using this little battery as an example instead of the car battery, so that I can set it up on the bench and show you how all the wires run. That relay there will switch the high power to the lower power of the switch, because these switches won't be able to handle up to 40 amps, or even if you've got more lights, you'd have more amps. This is only a single unit, so that's 540 watts. So this is how the loom goes if you want to do a manual setup. This relay would be put underneath your bonnet of your car, and you would use a self-tapping screw to ground it into the body. That instantly gives you the negative, so you don't have to run the negative to the car. So this little tab here comes off the relay and it goes in behind there. And I've simulated the car being negative grounded just by running a negative wire to the battery, but you can pretend that this is the negative feed off of the car. Cars in Australia are always positively here and negative to the body. So you've always got your ground. Ground is your black. Okay, so when you get this wiring loom, it also comes with an inline fuse, and in there is a 30 amp fuse, and that will blow before the relay and before the switch. So that is a definite must on the positive, and this is the heavier cable. This is the one that carries the current. You can see that it comes from the positive of the battery into the fuse, through the fuse, which will blow and drop that circuit out if there's any shorts or any water or any problems. Then it goes into the coil side of the relay, so does the negative. And inside these things is a tiny little electromagnet, and they work by switching on high current to the coil, which clicks a little switch, little contactors on inside it. And I'll actually demonstrate, take this apart, and we'll actually investigate that in part 3. And you'll see how the relay works and why it's very important, because those contactors in there can take a very high current, whereas the contactors that are in the switch are only very, very low quality bimetals, and they can't handle high current. So that continuous on, off will eventually just fuse the switch together. So when you get your loom, it comes with a white wire. It's automatically wired. You don't need to worry about the white one. It goes into this connector here, which goes to your switch. And the reason that they have this little connector between the switch and all the wiring is so you can poke that through the rubber in the underneath the hood of your car. You'll find there's like generally a big rubber grommet that the wires run through. And you can poke this thing through there and then mount this switch into your dashboard. So you can put it on your center console, or you can mount it onto your dashboard. They come with self-adhesive stickers on the back, so you just peel and put that on there. If you don't like this ugly switch, just put a rocker switch in. Just de-wire that and connect in your rocker switches, just a plus and a black and a red. And the rest, you get 2 other wires coming out of this little thing. It's all supplied. You don't need to worry about wiring anything. You've got plenty of length there, so you can connect this back to the negative. So this one would go to the ground, and this one would go to the red. Now that I've just pulled that wire out of there, we might have a problem. Let's see. Okay, so this is a manual setup. So that whole loom is about $16. Comes already done, all pre-wired. All you need, so that's the the part of the loom that goes to the light. You get the relay, you get the fuse, you get all of this wiring, and the switch, and the long lengths of wire. So really, it's the best way to wire up one of these headlights, and it's the cheapest way to do it because you don't have to go out and buy all the wire and buy the relay, buy the fuse, wire everything up with terminals. Okay, so that's the manual switch. So currently it's on red, which is off, and then it'll go to green, and there's the light lit up. So you can see that lit up, and if I turn the switch off, the light goes off. And I'll go quiet because I want you to listen to see if you can hear the relay clicking in. You'll hear a distinct, not the switch sound, you'll hear that as well. You might hear that relay kicking in and kicking off. Hear it? Hear that little clicking sound? That's the relay. And what it's doing is it's activating the electromagnet to the switch or deactivating it. So when you turn the power off, it just disconnects the power. So that high power that comes from your battery goes through your fuse into the relay. The relay handles the high power, and then on the other side it gives it back to the low power, and that goes off here. So that's part 2. The next part, what we're going to do is part 3. We're going to take this apart, show you why you need a relay and how a relay works. Not only that, when you get stuff these days, this wire here, it's not actually copper anymore. Because the price of copper's absolutely gone through the roof, they're actually doing a lot of shortcut methods, and they're using what's called copper-clad aluminium. And all of these wires I've discovered are all copper-clad aluminium. I'll give you a little sneak peek into part 3 because we'll do the relay. We'll do fuses and discuss different types of fuses. And there are new ones now with a little indicator light on them. So when the fuse blows, the little light goes on so you can tell which fuse is blowing. I'm going to see if I can get some of those. They're actually off of Temu or Alibaba or one of those. They're not really expensive each. And this one's a 30 amp, so it's a green coloured fuse. It's an inline blade fuse. We don't use the glass ones anymore. They've got those blades in them and that teeny weeny little tungsten element in it. And when that blows, it protects your whole circuit. But if you have a look here, we'll just give you a sneak peek into part 3. This is an actual copper wire. It's made of copper. This is the wire that came with the light. You see how it's a lot shinier? And it doesn't like to take solder. This is actually copper that's been clad in aluminium. And it's nowhere near as good as the old copper wires. But we'll go into that into part 3. We're going to call this part 2. And part 2 is the manual on, manual off. So if you don't want your light on, just simply switch it off with the switch. The next part will go into how to wire it into your high beam. So one of these wires is going to go into your high beam light. So it'll probably go into the positive on your headlight beam. And when you turn your light switch inside the car, your stick on the dashboard, throw it into high beam, this light will automatically come on. You can still override it from this switch because you can manually turn it off. I mount these under the hood of the car. It's actually sitting on top of my air cleaner. That way, if I don't want it on, I can actually open up the bonnet and switch it off. But there's very few times when you're travelling in the country that you don't need good spotlights, I can assure you. So part 3, let's get into how to automatically wire these into your high beams. And then part 4, we'll be discussing the different types of wire, relays and fuses. I hope that helps someone. They're quite easy to wire up. All you got to do, they come with a wiring diagram actually, so what you got to do is follow that. But if you're ever in doubt, just follow the lines in this video and that might help. So it's Andy here from Aussie Homestead signing out for part 2 on how to mount a light bar onto a car. And then eventually I'm going to mount this thing onto the car, put it into the high beams, and then we'll do a whole video on that section. But at the moment, I wanted to discuss the wiring loom and how it's all supplied. Hope that helps someone. Andy here from Aussie Homestead, signing off until the next one. Bye, guys.